For most of us, our year runs from the 1st of January through to the 31st of December. If you're in a motorsport paddock, well, that's somewhat true. But the bit of the calendar that you're interested in is from your first competitive practice session through to the final checkered flag of the season. And while outside it may be fall for the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda competitors, this is the end of their year. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindorf, Shea Adam and Jeremy Shaw alongside me in the IMSA Broadcast Centre here at beautiful Road Atlanta. It's Motul Petit Le Mans weekend, which means there's a big and knowledgeable crowd on hand, and also that the drivers get to show their skills in front of the teams of the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. For the last time, two classes of cars, the V8 LMP3s with the roofs and the open-top Mazda 4-cylinder cars. The venue this weekend, Road Atlanta, Braselton, Georgia. It's one of the classic road racing circuits in North America. 2.5 miles, 12 corners, many of which are blind entrances. Commitment required from the drivers. Action areas at turn 1, the uphill, at the heavy braking areas at turn 6 and 7, and coming down the hill to turn 10. The cars are on their warm-up lap in the early morning. Barely time for a cup of coffee and breakfast before we've asked these drivers to go to work. It's TJ Fisher and Chris Wright on the front row. And all of the red numbers that you're seeing here are the LMP3 closed-top V8 engine cars. They are the quicker around this circuit. Michael Chilmecki has the final ever pole position for the Mazda-powered cars. They won't be in the championship this year, but watch out for Kyle Masson coming all the way from the back. Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam will bring them to the line.
Here they come, 2 by 2. Unleash the horses, the green flag is out, and it is a great start from both the Normas as they jump around Chris Wright and take the green flag. For the last time this season, we have a race start. TJ Fisher, Rodrigo Fluker with that brilliant start. The number 74 Norma gets ahead of Chris Wright, who I think was playing it a bit safe there, Jeremy, deciding that the championship is more important.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, really all he has to do is start the race. He's pretty much clinched it now, in fact, because he's got a 23-point lead, so he can afford to finish at the back of the field, I think, and still win the championship. But he's taking no chances. That was Kyle Masson, I think, trying to make up some space there, was it?
Yes.
In number 11. He started at the back because his father, Robert, who's also in championship contention but has some work to do, qualified the car second, but they've elected to have Kyle, last year's champion, start that car, so he's going to have to work his way through the field and then hand it over to his dad for the closing stages.
Kyle, who was very impressive to watch last year on his run to take the championship, now trying to give the same honor to his father, which would be very cool if they could do it 2 years in a row in the same team. But he will be somebody who's fun to watch as he climbs his way past 10 other MPC cars in the category. At the front of the field, TJ Fisher is making hay while the sun shines, though, Jeremy. Yeah,
it's a good start by him, certainly, but tucked in right behind him is Rodrigo Fluker, and behind him Memo Gidley as well. And this is now completed lap 2, so that first lap did actually count. You're absolutely right. It was run under yellow flag conditions. Now the race is underway.
Norma, Norma, Norma for our first flying lap of the race. TJ Fisher leads, Rodrigo Fluker leads Memo Gidley, as you rightly say. Then is our champion-elect Chris Wright in the number 30, the Ligier from Extreme Speed Motorsport. After the first lap in MPC, Michael Chilmecki still leads from Tazio Otis, Gerhard Watzinger in 3rd, Dave House in 4th, John Brownson 5th, and Kyle Masson up to 6th already. So that was 5 cars for him to get around on that opening lap. A good effort from Kyle. He's got a bit more work to do, as Memo Gidley getting a bit brave. Now, we have 2 teams running Normas, Jeremy, and everybody else is in the Ligier in the LMP3 category. 47 Motorsports currently 1st and 2nd, and for Memo Gidley, he's looking at a different team. But we have an off, and that's Rob Hodis in the number 51 machine, who was looking so strong this weekend for K2R Motorsports. Yellow flag is out. Hodis has got the car back in gear, trying to get it to move, but no luck so far. Also involved there, the number 7 of Andrew Evans, as the yellow flag is out, and we are under a full course caution. This has huge championship implications for the Masters class.
Well, it certainly does, because Chris Hodis came into this weekend with just a 2-point lead over Jim Garrett.
We are back to green flag racing as it is Norma taking us to the green flag. TJ Fisher, our pole sitter, maintaining the lead, but now he's got his team car right behind him. And then we'll come under attack from the other Norma of Memo Gidley, driving the number 8 Norma, which he shares with Charles Chi. So that will be someone to watch a little bit later on in the race as well, making foray into racing. Then is Chris Wright and Harry Gottsacker. So we've got 3 and 30 running together. The 2 ESM cars, they can work together as a duo to try and catch back up to the Norma train. It is David Grant in the number 40 who is in 6th, and then Lance Wilsey, the first of our Masters competitors, in the number 33 Ligier. They're still very close at the front of the field. The 2 team cars almost nose to tail, literally, as they come out of the far side of the circuit and down the long straight. This is where the Norma really succeeds, because they are a much less draggy car. They are built for the high-speed portions of Road Atlanta. And maybe the Ligiers have the advantage through Sector 1, which is a little bit twistier, but it is the Normas that really stretch their legs and show their power as they come into that Sector 2 and then in 3.
They do a pretty good lead there over the rest of the field, but these 3 cars still pretty much tied together there in 1st, 2nd and 3rd. A little bit of a gap to the 2 Extreme Speed Motorsports cars in 4th and 5th, but that's just fine for them at this stage in the game.
Bad news for Jerry Kraut. He'll be getting a drive-through penalty for making a pass under yellow. That is something race control takes very seriously indeed. And in MPC, Kyle Masson is up to 2nd after that restart. So he went from last to 2nd in almost no time at all. And Rob Hodis is off the course again with no traction on the grass. He's rolling the car backwards. Is that up at turn 4, Jeremy? Up through the S's, maybe? He's trying to engage
he's trying to get it out of the way, actually. Is he? Or is he just trying to get it?
He's trying to go forward. And,
no surprise that Kyle Masson is up to 2nd place so quickly, because he was the champion last year. He clearly far and away the fastest driver in this field in MPC. But the equally good, or equally impressive, or perhaps probably more impressive, is John Brownson, the veteran, who is up into 3rd position, having also started at the back.
Jeremy, Dave House just came into the pit lane, our MPC championship leader at the start of the race. They are taking the nose off of this car. It is not a standard pit stop. So for the oldest winner in IMSA competition, drama. And it was he who contacted Rob Hodis. That's coming into turn 10 just before the bridge. That is why Hodis got stuck off the course. And that is why Dave House is now in the pits.
Well, Rob Hodis was trying to make his way back, I guess. And those 2 made contact. That is most unfortunate.
That's the
two championship leaders, ironically.
Exactly. First place in Masters and first place in Mazda Prototype Challenge MPC coming into the weekend. Rob Hodis is still shown as stopped out on course, so hopefully he's been able to roll the car back to a safe place. That is at turn 10. We've got a penalty for Andrew Evans, who came back out of the pit lane after the initial damage in contact with Rob Hodis at turn 1. He has run the light at the pit exit, and Michael Klemecki is off as well.
Oh, wow. All of the leaders pretty much have had problems, except for our pole sitter.
Wow.
All of the class leaders, either in the race or in the championship. That's Michael Klemecki, who led from the pole position. Under intense pressure he was from Kyle Masson.
Yep. And
John Brownson, whether he made a mistake, whether it was contact, who knows. But the car is stationary up there at the top of the hill. Let's have a look. He just got way over the curb there to turn 3, just lost control, and he's, nosed it into the barriers pretty heavily.
He did. Nothing is overtly broken, though. Nothing looks completely bent out of shape from initial sight, but it was a big hit for Klemecki. Hopefully he can get it fired up and back out on the circuit running around, and he does, which means that he can bring it back into the pit lane. He can shake it down first, see if everything feels okay. Hopefully stay out on course, as Klemecki is somebody who's really fun to watch. But that means Kyle Masson started at the back and now is leading after 15 minutes of racing.
Yeah, but John Brownson is staying right with him there, isn't he? In 2nd position in class in NPC, 14th and 15th place overall, number 11 and the number 34. John Brownson, like I say, the veteran driver, he actually had a birthday this week, his 65th birthday. Hope you won't mind me saying that, but he's in the car, so he can't hear me. But he is the most experienced driver in this championship. 121 starts dating all the way back to 2007 when he made his debut. Veteran driver, won the Masters Championship when it was a Masters Championship in that class several times over the years, and just a great competitor. Had an engine failure in free practice 2 yesterday, wasn't able to take part in qualifying, but making his way up through the field and hanging on to the tail of Kyle Masson.
TJ Fisher has not been able to pull away from his teammate Rodrigo Fluker either. The 47 and 74 still tethered together by a very thin bungee cord. Memo Gidley has dropped back a tiny bit from that battle. He's about 2 seconds further behind the leading duo. But for right now, Fisher and Fluker just looking forward and focusing on doing everything they can. It's Austin McCusker who comes in this weekend second in the championship as John DeAngelis goes for a rotation. And Jeremy, we are glad to see that car running at all yesterday. John DeAngelis with a moment up at turn 5. He wound up on top of the tires, and oh, Howard Jacobs not making things easy for TJ Fisher. Goes around the outside, and Fisher nearly off in the grass trying to get by the MPC car, but still Fisher then Fluker, so no lead change, even though they were passing slower cars and had to take evasive action. That was a close moment.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, John DeAngelis just had that spin, or did he? Well, he was going very slowly, and oh, good grief, that would be a moment for TJ Fisher, where he doesn't need an espresso shot anymore. He just got a very big wake-up call. Fluker, Gidley, Fisher, Wright, Grant, Gottsacker. Those are our top 6 in the LMP3 category, and our top 2 still very close together despite running through all this traffic. It's only a second and a half separating first from second.
Yeah, and the Masters class is still interesting because number 42 car has been slipping back. He's back now in the 22nd position overall. He must have had a spin at some stage. I don't think we saw it, did we, for Jim Garrett?
No, he came into the pit lane because he had the contact on the back of one of the other LMP3 cars.
So
So Jim Garrett, so Rob Hodis, first off, by the way, comes into the race leading the championship, has the off in turn 1, goes several laps down. Jim Garrett comes into the race second in the championship, has contact going into 10A, has to come into the pit lane to make sure that everything is okay on his Ligier, as we have a car peeling off into the pit lane. I think that is Michael Klemecki coming in. We've got Cameron Castles comes into the race third in the championship, currently leading the Masters category, and I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to curse him. It was Michael Klemecki into the pit lane. Jeremy, is he doing a drive-through? Let's see. Now, Klemecki, who has had a couple of starts this year where he's done just this, and then a mechanical gremlin has bitten him. I hope it's not the same today, as the car comes to a stop and crew members jump over the wall. They are going to work on his car. The seatbelts are coming off. That looks like it is potentially day done for Michael Klemecki. Oh, not again.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle Masson leads that class. From Tazio Audis, it is John Brownson. Oh no, it was Watzinger. It was Gerhard Watzinger who came in the pit lane. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. In the number 32, Watzinger making his return to the series, his first start of the season, and it is he who is calling it, as Klemecki is also in the pit lane but has been in for a little while now. So both the 31 and the 32 from the MPC category are parked, as is Dave House in the 86 machine, who came into the race as the championship leader.
So this is opening the door for other contenders, certainly in terms of the championship.
Oh,
they came in here with the top 7 separated by just 9 points.
And mind you, it's not that this is the 3rd race of the season. This is the 6th round, and we still have that many cars close together as Kyle Masson dives into the pit lane.
Yeah, have we completed the 40 minimum drive time?
No.
An hour and 8
minutes to go.
Less 45, that's 37, isn't it? So
That's
he hasn't completed the drive time, so this can't be scheduled for car number 11.
This is not good for the Performance Tech team. Just Jeremy, if you want to keep an eye out on track, I'll see what they're doing down at Performance Tech, but the car has come to a stop. Nobody is over the wall yet for the number 11. Dr. Masson slated to get in and take over for his son, Kyle. They're looking...
He won't be making that driver change yet, that's for sure, because it's he hasn't completed the minimum drive time.
Jeremy, the car might be overheating from the grass picked up in the radiator from when he had that brief off-track excursion. It doesn't take much. They're dropping tires over the wall now. Going to change the fronts, perhaps. Front left is the area that they're focusing on, as they are changing that Continental tire and pulling an air jack around the other side to change the other tire as well.
And having worked their way through the traffic, the race leader now, Rodrigo Fluker, is back into the 19s, 1 minute 19.5 last time around, having been doing 21s and even 22s when he was struggling to find his way through some slower traffic. So he's back up to speed now. He's only a second and a half or so ahead of Memo Gidley, who's hanging right there for 5 miles out racing. And then TJ Fisher, well, he's about 5 seconds back in the 3rd position, a long way clear of the championship leader, Chris Wright, in car number 30.
We were about 2 minutes away from the pit window opening when drivers may come down to the pit lane. And you might be wondering, well, if there are drivers doing the whole race themselves, why do they need to come in? Well, they need to refuel. Everybody has to get fuel, and during the refueling time, drivers have to get out of their car and climb back over the wall. They can't be standing on the pit lane because they would then count as one of the crew members over the wall, and that would sabotage the team, so they need the driver back over the wall. And it is a mandated time as Joel Janko goes for a ride after missing his braking point in 10A and then goes for a spin on the exit.
The mistake.
Oh gosh, and Joel Janko came into the championship 4th in points, saw the window open when 1st and 2nd dropped down a little bit further. Did he just miss his braking point? Well, he had the race leader behind him and locked up late in, and Joel Janko just goes for a crash on the front straight as well, just in front of us, Jeremy, as he comes out of the final turn and looped it. That brings out a local yellow. We'll see if we go full course caution. Can Joel get it going again? He's facing the wrong direction, and it did sound like a big impact, but the bodywork is not askew from initial vantage. I can't imagine that there's not something further wrong. Joel just looked over to the right as he was turning into the corner and then looked back to the left.
Yeah. 3 mistakes and as many corners.
Oh my goodness. That's not going to make Joel very happy, as the car just caught, it bit as he was coming out of the corner, but he was nowhere near the outside curb. He was not on the line at all.
No, that's right. I mean, he'd made a mistake 2 corners before at turn 10A and at 10B because he carried too much speed across there. He tried to collect it all and spun across the racetrack there, got back on again, so there was dirt and grass and dampness on the tyre. So when he got to turn 12 there, no grip at all pretty much, and again, as you say, lost control. And that's going to bring out the caution for the 3rd time.
Full course caution is out, and we will be behind the safety car as the IMSA safety crew has already gotten to Joel Janko. He's popped open his door to signify that he is okay, and there is a slippery surface flag being waved as well because there's a lot of grass that was torn up and thrown onto the front straight. Green flag back out, and a great jump from Rodrigo Fluker as Memo Gidley not going to let him get away, though. The 3 cars at the head of the field, exactly the same chassis, just slightly different setups from the 2 teams running in 1st and 3rd, and then the 5 miles out in 2nd.
Right, so there's the NPC category at the moment is led by car number 28. He's a lap down overall, but in 14th position. Car number 28, Tazzy Ortiz. Right behind him, or a couple of cars behind him on the racetrack, is John Brownson in car number 34. Paul LaHaye in car number 36 is right behind John Brownson, and close behind him also is Stephen Dawes. Those 4 cars are all on the same lap in the lead for NPC, as we see now TJ Fisher trying to make a move on Memo Gidley to turn 6, not able to make that pass stick.
And that was a result of Memo Gidley trying to make a move on on our race leader, Rodrigo Fluker, as they came through the S's. I've got bad news for 2 championship runners. Rob Hodis in the number 51, whose day started off as poorly as it could, entered a closed pit. You are not allowed to come back into the pit lane as soon as the green flag is flown. You must complete that first lap. While Howard Jacobs in the number 77 MPC car comes in second in the championship this weekend, remember, did exactly the same thing. So effectively, they will have to serve a drive-through penalty once they leave the pit lane. Terrible news for those 2.
Yeah, that was a bit of a blunder. Who's that coming?
Couple more cars coming into the pit lane. Very well spotted, Jeremy. A lot of cars coming into the pit lane.
And a couple of these guys. Number 3 is the only car on the lead lap to come into the pits. He was in the 6th position, and then several cars a lap down. Number 4, number 55.
The 7 came in,
others.
the 60 of Bruce Hamilton, the 42 of Jim Garrett is in the pit lane, the 17 of Matthew Dickin, the 28 of Tazio Otis, John Brownson in the 34. So we have a lot of those blue P's on the timing screen signifying pit stops are being made. All these drivers are okay, by the way. They waited for the window to open and for the pit lane to be open once again. We'll keep an eye on those stops as we watch what's going out on track for you, though, because Rodrigo Fluker, Memo Gidley, and TJ Fisher separated by 1 second from first to third. The gap is almost non-existent as we have a 3-way battle for the lead of this race, and the car in second really looking racy today, Jeremy. Memo Gidley doing a fantastic job in that 5 miles out, Norma.
Yeah, and he'll want to stay out there as long as he can. He'd love to lead a lap or 2 if he can. We've got 54 minutes remaining in the race as we see the...
TJ Fisher into the pit lane.
Yeah, okay, fine. So that's the 3rd place car onto pit lane. And they have to make their pit stops before, 40 minutes remaining in this race. So they've got another 12, 13 minutes, which would be another 8 laps or so before they need to make a pit stop.
TJ Fisher comes down the pit lane, crawling to his pit box. He'll be handing over to Austin McCusker in that car, the duo who got a win earlier this year back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park after some brilliant strategy that won them the race. They came into the pit lane at the perfect time, and it resulted in them going home with the first place trophy. But for Rodrigo Fluker, who will be handing over to Anthony Simone, he cannot afford to think about anything, because if he slips up even the slightest bit, Memo Gidley is going to snatch that lead away and not look back at all. Dave Grant is in third, a further 7 seconds behind this leading duo in the number 40. And then is Cameron Castles, who stayed out on track so far. Remember, Cameron not sharing the car this weekend. Will be doing all the driving himself, but still has to come in and make that pit stop. Memo Gidley just sizing up Fluker. You get the feeling that Gidley is sort of planning and watching. He's a very, very smart driver, is Gidley, and he knows that he's going to have to plan a long way back to make the pass on a car that's pretty much the same as what he's in, except for a few little setup changes. We have 2 different teams fighting for the lead of this race. We've already had 53 minutes elapses. We are down to 52 to go. And it's anyone's game. Paul LaHaye leads in MPC, by the way, in the number 36 car, ahead of Stephen Dawes in the number 22, as neither of them have yet pitted. Now there's a driver out of the car. I believe that's Corey Lewis standing next to the number 17, who is not over the wall. Oh, he was manning the fire bottle. Corey Lewis, who's about to get in and drive the number 17, was doing the fire bottle duties while the rest of the crew was putting fuel in the car. Love seeing that sort of camaraderie going on. Yes, I will drive your race car, but I will also do the dirty work. Rodrigo Fluker, Memo Gidley, 0.3 of a second between the leading pair. Love seeing this too.
And there is this minimum pit stop time for these teams. It's just for safety. This is a feeder category. They're not trying to make the teams have to do competitive refueling with the risk of errors that might occur. So there's plenty of time for these cars to be refueled, for the drivers to make their change. have a little bit of a drink, bit of a stretch of the fingers, make sure they're nice and relaxed before they go back out on the racetrack again. But for these two leaders who are staying out there, Rodrigo Fluker, he's got his mirrors absolutely full of Memo Gidley. Gidley, of course, he's a great story all the way around. I mean, he was born on a boat in the Pacific Ocean, so he's kind of Mexican-American. He was born off the coast of Mexico. Yeah, he came up through this sport the hard way. He doesn't have any family money at all, but he's made it all the way to the IndyCar series, finished on the podium for Chip Ganassi Racing a couple of times, had a huge crash at
Daytona.
At Road America in the IndyCar, which he got away from. But then, more critically, 3 or 4 years ago now, had a massive crash at Daytona during the Rolex 24 Hours and was in the hospital for many months. Was in excruciating pain for a couple of years. He's finally got those problems resolved, and to see him back at the wheel of a race car is just fantastic. And he remains close to his roots. He was an avid karter, remains so in Northern California, and also is an accomplished captain out on the seas as well, following in the footsteps of his parents. He does a lot of boat racing, yacht racing actually, in the Bay Area.
Fantastic.
Cool guy.
Very. And always has a smile on his face. Always a very happy person to be around.
Nowadays, particularly.
Nowadays,
having got all those problems behind him, yes.
As Bart Wolff, now driving the number 28, sees James French in his rearview mirror, although they are separated by a lap. French trying to drive around Wolff to get his lap back and hopefully get Howard Jacobs back up into contention. It has not been the easiest day for that number 77 machine. Not the easiest weekend, in all honesty. As James French does look down the inside, he'll have the optimum line for 10A, but there's a LMP3 car there as well, and Wolff goes to turn in, notices he can't because French was there. French makes the pass, but now for Stephen Dawes and the number 22 behind them, I think that's Stephen Dawes, isn't it? Yes, who has the thought of going around Wolff. So Wolff goes from being the first MPC car in sight in the camera shot to being second and nearly third. The leader, Rodrigo Fluker, still out on circuit. We have Austin McCusker driving the 47 Motorsports, the sister car. And finally, Fluker comes into the pit lane. Does Cameron Castle stay out and become our leader? That will be the next question. He was about 32 seconds down the road from Fluker at the last timing mark. And Rodrigo has done a really top job today in the race so far. There goes the 60 of Bruce Hamilton. I'm just waiting to see what Cameron Castles does. And does he stay out? He does. Race leader, Cameron Castles.
Well, yeah, next time around he'll take the lead because Fluker crossed the start-finish line in the pit lane. So he will lead lap 39. We've got 44 minutes remaining in this race, and Cameron Castles will be our leader next time around. Even if he comes onto pit lane, he'll be credited with leading that lap. And for Cameron, that's the first time he has actually led a lap. You know, we've had a whole bunch of different leaders during this season. Most laps have been led by Austin McCusker actually over the season, 50 laps in, that's the car number 47 that will be taken over from TJ Fisher, or has taken over from TJ Fisher.
Gerhard Watzinger goes for a spin just before the bridge. It's got quite a few people out at that location, the braking point for 10A. He turned into 10B and just lost the rear end. Very odd situation, but manages to not collect anyone else and get the car fired up, pointed back in the right direction, and continues on. So Paul LaHaye has yet to pit in the number 36 One Motorsport machine, as has Stephen Dawes in the number 22. Those two cars separated by just under 4 seconds. Fighting for the lead of the race on the track, but of course they have to come in and do their mandatory pit stop. Cameron Castles into the pit lane. So he will be credited, as Jeremy rightly says, as the race leader, even though he is in the pits. And he crosses the start-finish line now, just below our feet. There we go. Cameron Castles on top of the timing sheet.
So he will lead lap 40.
Excellent. Rodrigo Fluker still in the pit lane. His teammate, Austin McCusker, out on track, the number 47 Motorsports machine, trying to make up a little bit of ground, although there was such a great battle at the start of the race between the three Normas. I'm interested to see how it all shakes out once everybody gets back out on track. Cameron Castle's out of his number 75 Ligier for Performance Tech Motorsport, jumps over the wall, looked quite spry, quite happy, I would say. Cameron pleased with the job he's doing so far, and we are pleased with it as well. Austin McCusker crosses the start-finish line. And the question will be, Jeremy, is does he re-inherit the lead that his teammate had from the start of the race and then lost to the 74 car? Do you think McCusker can get back to the front? It's going to be close. Yeah, it should be fairly close. I mean, the interesting thing is that the number 47 car has now been out there for a few laps, Austin McCusker, and turning lap times around was a 20.2. So it's going to be, you know, the question of who has clear track now, I think, and doesn't get held up by the traffic. There is a number 47 car, that is Austin McCusker, currently shown in the 4th position because there's still a couple of the NPC cars have yet to make their first pit stops. Number 36, Paul LaHaye, leads the way in NPC, only 4 seconds or so ahead of Stephen Dawes in car number 22 for Performance Tech. Great burnout from the 74 machine. Anthony Simone now behind the wheel as the crew member was down on eye level, counting down 3, 2, 1, go, and he nailed it. Perfect job. They do have to be careful with a bit of wheel spin though, and that you don't exceed the speed limit when you're leaving the pit lane. We have seen that in practice this weekend, as Paul LaHaye credited as our leader this time around, Jeremy?
He will be, I think, next time around, yeah.
Very cool.
But if he doesn't come on the pit, well, he'll have to come on to... No, he won't have to come on the pit lane. There's no
time for him.
He's not sharing the car, is he? So nope. He's driving it solo, so he can stay out as long as he likes. As much fuel as he has, he can stay out there.
Paul LaHaye and Stephen Dawes can enjoy this little bit of running. They can take their time. An hour and 45-minute long race, of which we have 40 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. That's it for the season. These guys who have had a very long year. It began all the way back in January at the Roar before the 24 at Daytona International Raceway. Then we went to Sebring International Raceway, Daytona International Speedway, from Sebring in the middle of March to Barber Motorsport Park in the middle of April, then north of the border, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, first week of July, then Virginia International Raceway, where it was mixed conditions for that race, the middle of August, and here, the Petit Le Mans weekend at Road Atlanta to wrap things up. We hand out the trophies at the end of this one, so this is the race that you're going to be thinking about until we come back to next January.
So number 22 car, Stephen Dawes, stays out and will lead lap 41. Number 36 car that had been ahead of number 22 comes in to make his pit stop. That's Paul LaHaye on this lap, so he will not quite lead a lap officially because he ducked on the pit lane, and Stephen Dawes is able to go past him and lead this lap before he makes his mandatory pit stop.
Cameron Castle's back out of the pit lane as well, and Stephen Dawes is a great story. He did a driving school and loved racing so much that he wanted to become more involved in it. So he started racing street cars at track days at Sebring International Raceway. From upstate New York originally is Stephen. And he decided he wanted to learn more about racing, so he joined the Performance Tech Motorsport pit crew. He worked with them in 2015 and 2016 and started driving last year. In this category, he was 4th in the championship in the Masters classes we had last year, and potentially could be champion this year, which is just a great, heartwarming story. And he's also a huge fan of Jeff Gordon, so getting to meet him last year at the Rolex was a highlight for sure. Well, and for the 30 machine, if they can bring it home in the current position, which is 2nd, that would be every single race finished on the podium. And that in itself is an impressive record for Chris Wright. A pair of 3rds to start the season, a pair of wins in the middle of the season, and a pair of second place finishes. That's a good run for this first season of the endurance form of this championship with the longer form races. Paul LaHaye in the pink car with Michael Klemecki several laps down in the blue and white car next in shot. Then Gerhard Watzinger again laps down in the black and red machine. And behind them, James French in the number 77, who, as far as I know, never came in to serve that penalty as...
Yeah, no, he did.
He did?
Yes,
okay.
Sure he did, yeah.
So Klemecki passes LaHaye. That is a position on track, but not in the running order. So Paul LaHaye should just let him go, but he does not.
John Brownson now has got past number 36. So John Brownson leads in MPC. And here is the battle for what is now second place. 3 wide coming into turn 1.
And James French does it. James French comes from 4th to 2nd in one turn.
No, actually, because he's a lap down to these other contenders, in fact. Yes.
Okay, okay. I'll get a little bit less excited, but that was a great pass by James French to take advantage of 2 cars going into turn 1. That is not something many people would be brave enough to leave the foot to the floor. James French is one of those people, though. This was the only race last year, Jeremy, the only track at which Performance Tech Motorsport did not win on their way to a Prototype Challenge Championship in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. A bit of unfinished business for both Kyle Masson and James French coming into the race this weekend. That's something that they'll have to worry about for the 10-hour race, as incident responsibility is placed squarely on the shoulders of Robbie Foley for that crash with the number 88. It will be a drive-through penalty for the 42. Completely agree with Race Control's decision on that one, as Paul LaHaye and Bart Wolf are battling back and forth for second. Bart Wolf taking advantage and going around, which means that now the 28 is up into second. And although with John Brownson leading, oh, I don't know, it's close, because Wolf and Otis were 1 point up on Brownson and Wolf and Otis, so that means things right now would be going the way of John Brownson, but we have 3 minutes to go. Anything could happen at this point in the race. There could be a giant fluffy pink cat that walks out across the track and just knocks cars off. Jeremy, I wouldn't be surprised if that started happening, because we've seen it all in this championship today.
It's just absolutely incredible, it really is.
Oh, it makes you giddy when you see this kind of racing where you really don't know what's going to happen until the checkered flag flies.
It's been a bizarre race. It hasn't been always wheel to wheel necessarily,
no,
but there's been lots of excitement, and there continues to be.
Austin McCusker is our leader, 5 seconds over Nick Janssen in the number 30 car for Extreme Speed Motorsport that he shares with our champion-elect Chris Wright. In third, it is Keith Grant. He is only 1 second behind Nick Janssen, so that position is still up in the air. Second place still could go the way of the 40 machine. It is not a done deal for the Extreme Speed Motorsports yet. John Brownson is our leader in the MPC category, ahead of Bart Wolf, and then Paul LaHaye. Stephen Dawes is still on that lap, though. He is a further 5 seconds behind LaHaye, so he's got quite a bit of time to make up if he wants a real shot at it. We are down to the 2-minute warning.
There goes John Brownson across the line to complete lap 61. And we've got to wait for the second place car. Those 2 cars both lap down. There's Bart Wolf in second position across the line now, and behind him is car number 36 in third place.
Oh my goodness. So McCusker has stretched his gap now 6.5 seconds with 1:40 to go in the 2018 season. McCusker looking for his 2nd win of the year, alongside TJ Fisher, who put the car on pole yesterday, let's not forget, and did a good job off the start of the race, but it was his teammate who really took control of the show. That was Rodrigo Fluker. He was the one we were watching. A bit of misfortune for that car, as they had some drama. The car came into the pit lane with Anthony Simone and has not returned. White flag is in the air as Austin McCusker comes across the line, and he has 1 more lap around Road Atlanta, 2.5 miles to go. Just 12 turns. Keep it on the road, and you will get win number 2. John Brownson should be coming around here shortly to see the white flag as well. McCusker can almost reel himself in at this point. There's Brownson. He sees the white flag. McCusker's got nearly an 8-second gap back to second. He doesn't need to take any risks. And Nick Janssen just needs to play it smart and hope that everyone else does the same as well to bring that car home in second. The leader, Austin McCusker, has Tonis Katzmeth's right in his rearview mirror. Austin, though, just doing what he's done all year, being very impressive when he gets behind the wheel of the car, Jeremy, going quickly, but being smart.
Yeah, John Brownson in that car number 34 for Eurosport Racing. Missed qualifying altogether because of an engine problem in practice yesterday. Started from the very, very back, came into the weekend 5th in the points table.
Here they come down the hill for the final time. Checkered flag is in the air, and Austin McCusker takes the win with TJ Fisher in the number 47 Motorsports Norma. The second win for them on the season, and way to go out in style. It cements Austin McCusker's second place in the championship. Nick Johnson brings it home in second, which means that Chris Wright is our champion.
It was Cameron Castles there to take the checkered flag in the 5th position, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be enough to clinch the Masters Championship.
And now we wait for John Brownson to come down the hill as well. He sees the checkered flag waving in the air, and he keeps both hands firmly on the steering wheel until he gets to the line, raises a hand in the air. Victory for John Brownson in the number 34 machine, and it should be enough. We will do the math. I'll have Jeremy do all of the counting, but that should be the MPC Championship going his way.
Top 3 in the P3 and overall coming into the pit lane right underneath the IMSA broadcast tower here at Road Atlanta. It's been a great season, and thanks to Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam for all of their hard work. Here are the final results from our last race of the year. McCusker and Fisher winning for the 47 crew, from Wright and Simpson in second and the Grants in third. The final ever win in the MPC category goes to John Brownson. Those cars not with us next year, but what servants they, the teams and the drivers have been to sports car racing in North America. Let's hear from our overall winners.
Yeah, I mean, second win on the season. We came here, we knew we had to win. We were far off on the championship, so we came here and wanted to win the race, finish the season off good, and you know, won this one on outright speed instead of a pit stop this time. So
yeah, it was great. I mean, the car was really good. You know, we started off really early this morning, so the visibility coming to the green flag, I mean, I couldn't see anything. And yeah, I just ran my race. Car was really quick, and then, you know, halfway there, kind of ran into some lap traffic. We were 4 wide on the back straight, and I was like in the grass. So teammate got by, and it was just dealing with lap traffic most of the race. So once I handed off the car to Austin, kind of just were on rails and came in with the win. So it's awesome.
Jeremy Shaw has done the arithmetic, and that shows Chris Wright is our P3 champion for 2018, ahead of Austin McCusker and Max Hanratty. My goodness, it was a close thing in the Mazda Prototype Challenge for the open top cars. Just 9 points separating the whole of the top 6. Stephen Dawes in third was just 3 off the title. Bart Wolff and Tassio Otis just a couple, but our final champion is John Brownson.
Well, I think it's only fitting that to be the final winner in this car, in as much as we started out the very first year and we've raced it every year since. We had a few wins along the way, and this one feels especially good. It's been such a pleasure to race with IMSA in the WeatherTech series. It's just thrilled to be able to finish it with a win.
A magnificent season of prototype racing has come to an end, and it's the end of an era, as we'll no longer be watching the open top cars in 2019. Thanks to Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam, our production team both at the circuits and back at HQ, and of course all of the track workers and officials who have helped us throughout the year. I'm John Hindhaugh. I hope you've enjoyed us as we've taken you through the 2018 IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.